On this episode of Sports for Beginners, the podcast, welcome to Blue Jays Game Recap Friday. It's Blue Jays Baseball Friday, Double Trouble Edition, with the Victoria Day matchup against the Tigers on this episode of Sports for Beginners and on a later episode of Blue Jays Game Recap. With that said, I am Scott McGregor. Welcome to Sports for Beginners, Blue Jays Baseball Recap Edition. Let's get going.
The Blue Jays are back, and right now, with the game having gone final, we are welcoming you in to Blue Jays Game Recap on the Sports for Beginners podcast. Now, let's go to your hosts of Blue Jays Game Recap, Thomas McGregor, Ali Musa, and Scott McGregor in the Sports for Beginners podcast studio. Take it away, gentlemen, because when the umpire says, "You're out," or "That's the game," or "Let's play ball," we know it's time for some baseball. This is Blue Jays Game Recap. Take it away, gentlemen.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to episode number 12 of season 4 of Sports for Beginners. Welcome in, baseball fans. Welcome in, Tampa Bay Ray fans. Welcome in, Blue Jays fans. Where are my Blue Jay fans at? The Toronto Blue Jays taking one game out of 3 against the Tampa Bay Rays in a 3-game set at Rogers Center to kick off the Blue Jays' 9-game homestand, which continues tomorrow, but by the time you hear this on our Double Trouble, this episode, and of course the episode of the Tigers recap, will drop, which is Monday, May the 19th, 2025. Yes, so no show dropping on the 16th, which is when we are going to be going to try to release this one, but we actually are going to release it actually on Victoria Day. So Victoria Day will get a double dose of baseball, including this one. I am, of course, your host, Scott McGregor. Welcome in. Thank you so much for joining us here today. I really appreciate it. As always, we like to start every Blue Jays game recap show, as that is what this episode is going to be categorized on, in what we call on an original episode of Sports for Beginners, what we call the lead off. Well, leading off is how we lead off our Blue Jays game recaps originally, and that always is our managers. In this matchup, we see Kevin Cash against John Schneider. Now, just a quick note. Once that 9-game homestand wraps up, with the Tigers in town this weekend and the Padres in town for the weekday before the weekend goes to the New York Yankees spring training complex for the Tampa Bay Rays series, the Rays will be playing the Blue Jays once again next weekend. This weekend, the Tigers are in town, and then this upcoming Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, the Padres will be here. And then the Blue Jays hit the road to the New York Yankees spring training complex for the home games for the Tampa Bay Rays. They will then see the Texas Rangers, and then they're back at the end of the month of May to kick off a 4-game set with the Athletics. All right, our managers are out of the way, which is what we are leading off with. Let's jump to the meeting on the mound. This is our second segment of the show. As we open it up here with the opening segment, we're going to keep it going here. And the first pitching matchup, pitching line coming up later in the show, it would feature Jose Barrios against this man, Shane Baz. Shane, if I pronounce the name wrong, and Jose, if I pronounce the last name wrong, sincerest apologies to you both. We'll go over a pitching line from one of these games later on in the program, but we always like to start things off going over the managers and the pitching matchup. Shane and Jose in game 1, which the Blue Jays lost, but had quite the number of action that we'll get to later after the line score, which is coming up momentarily. In game number 2, the game of which the Blue Jays won, it would be for the Tampa Bay Rays, Ryan Peppiatt. Ryan, if I pronounced the name wrong, sincerest apologies. Against our boy for the Blue Jays, Chris Bassitt. Chris did not get the win in that game, but I still think he did pretty well. I actually spoke with Braden of Locked On Blue Jays via Discord, and I said to Braden, what were your thoughts on Chris Bassitt's performance? I'm not going to speak for Braden on what he said, but basically, he didn't think it was a great start by Chris, and I agree with him. But the best part, I also agree with him on this one, was when Chris Bassitt was missing. When he was missing with his off-speed stuff. But clearly Bassitt noticed something, and he did not have his best stuff on that day, which was on Wednesday night. Tuesday night was when this series got started. That was Barrios and Baz, Peppiatt and Bassitt with game number 2. And in game number 3, Kevin Gausman, my boy Gausman, taking on the pitcher set up for the Tampa Bay Rays to take the finale. Zach Littell against Kevin Gausman. You had Bassitt versus Peppiatt, and you had Barrios versus Baz. You had Gausman versus Littell. All right, we got some time here. A lot to discuss, especially in game 1 of this series, which we'll get to in the middle portion of the show. Coming up after a quick commercial break. Before we get to the commercial break, here's a look at your line scores, starting with game number 1. For the Tampa Bay Rays, 11 runs on 10 hits, no errors. For the Blue Jays, 9 runs on 10 hits, no errors. They left 5 men on base, stole 1 base, had 27 total bases, and 4 home runs. The Rays had 3 home runs, 20 total bases, no stolen bases, and left 3 men on base in game number 1. In game number 2, the line score looks like this. For the Blue Jays, 3 runs on 8 hits, 2 errors. For the Tampa Bay Rays, 1 run on 7 hits, 1 error. The Rays did not hit a home run in game number 2, had 9 total bases, stole 1 base, and left 8 men on base. The Blue Jays did not steal a base in game number 2, but had 12 total bases, not stolen bases, 12 total bases of their 8 hits and 3 runs. One home run, the big 3-run home run by Alejandro Kirk, which we'll talk about later in the show when we do our scoring. Also coming up in about a mere moment from now after a break. And of course, the Blue Jays, although they did not steal a base, they grab 6 men left on base of the 2 errors they commit in game number 2. And finally, game number 3. The game that happened just a couple hours ago. just a few hours ago, 6 hours to the exact. For the Tampa Bay Rays, 8 runs on 14 hits, no errors. For the Blue Jays, 3 runs on 8 hits, no errors. 4 home runs in the game by the Tampa Bay Rays in game number 3. 27 total bases, 2 stolen bases, and the Rays left 5 men on base in this one. The Blue Jays, no stolen bases, 4 men left on, 18 total bases, 3 home runs of their 8 hits. 4 home runs for the Rays of their 8 runs on their 14 hits. 2 of them by Brandon Lau. Speaking of Brandon Lau, when we get into the scoring, we're going to get into quite the game in game 1. Very entertaining game in game 2, and a little bit of an entertaining game in game number 3. First and foremost, the records for both teams. As we speak to you on the weekend before Victoria Day, which is Monday when these shows will drop, the Tigers one as well will drop at that point in time. Maybe that'll drop on Tuesday, but it's a double trouble. Our episode's supposed to be going out tomorrow, Friday, May the 16th, 2025. It will actually go out on Victoria Day as part of a Victoria Day double trouble, an episode of Sports for Beginners and a Blue Jays game recap, all in one. As we sit here, the Blue Jays are 21 and 22. The Tampa Bay Rays are 20 and 23. The New York Yankees are 25 and 18. The Boston Red Sox are 22 and 23. And the Baltimore Orioles in the AL East are 15 and 27. We'll talk about the AL Central and the AL East on the Detroit recap, but we're going to keep it to the AL East for now on this show. Speaking of that, when we return, Game 1 and maybe Game 2, scoring moments. How this game ended, 11-9 in favor of the Rays, and showcase the records we saw on Tuesday night, Looney Dogs night at the ballpark. Then we'll go to Wednesday night, where the Blue Jays defeated the Rays 3-1, and we'll go over to the 8-3 final momentarily. Players of the series also coming up later, and that will follow after our pitching line from one of the 3 games in this show. I should say in this series. And due to time constraints, we're not going to take a look around the MLB, but I will remind you of the standings as we sit here recording this on a Thursday night right after the final game of the series. In Toronto, that is. The first series in Toronto. So don't you dare go anywhere. I should say don't go anywhere. We will be back with how the games turned out the way they turned out. 1, 2 to 3. Don't go anywhere. This episode of Sports for Beginners, Season 4, Blue Jays Friday Baseball, continues in a moment. Don't go anywhere.
Don't go anywhere. There's more great conversations and content right around the corner. Sports for Beginners will be right back in a moment.
Take another look with Gerda Felix and Melanie Taddeo Malo, 2 powerful women of diverse backgrounds having genuine, unique, and uncomfortable conversations that everyone needs to have. Join Melanie and Gerda for conversations about what is missing from human connections.
Looking for a sports podcast that covers sports weekly as well as gets you set up for the day? Check out Weekly in Sports with me, Scott McGregor. We give some shout-outs of the week to podcasts like this one and those who do them. Discuss the Blue Jays, Bills, Raptors, and more. To learn more, check out the Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Search Sports for Beginners.
Now, let's take you back to the action. To the rink and field we go. We find Scott McGregor.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Sports for Beginners, the podcast. Welcome back to our 12th episode of Season 4. It is Blue Jays Baseball Friday on Victoria Day weekend. It's a double trouble Victoria Day bash. First, the series before the long weekend between the Rays and the Blue Jays, which the Rays ended up taking 2 out of 3. More on that a little bit later. And of course, we got to talk about the Detroit Tigers. The games have not happened as we are recording this, but by the time you hear both of these shows, they will have happened, and we will have our final scores to talk about. All right, in the leadoff, we talked about the line score in all 3 games. We talked about the meeting on the mound. We talked about our head coaches, rather managers, and, well, this just in, ladies and gentlemen, unless you listen to Sienna T Radio, you probably already know this, but this just in, ladies and gentlemen, just a quick update here while we have this for you. This week's Cosmopolitan Culture Club for today, May the 15th, 2025, has been postponed until Thursday, May the 29th, and there are some announcements from Sienna herself. Sienna says in her special update, "Hello, Sienna T Radio listeners. I hope you are all doing well and having a great week so far. I regret to inform you that due to commitments, I won't say unforeseen, that's what she said, but I won't say that. I won't speak for her. Due to commitments, tonight's Cosmopolitan Culture Club will need to be postponed and will air on Thursday, May the 29th, 2025, from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern. Also, please be advised that due to a prior commitment, next Friday, May 23rd, the Song Bank for next week will air on Saturday, May the 24th, from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern, right after the Melting Pot, the Classical Cafe, and the Hourglass. That's right, listeners. May the 24th will be another Sienna T Radio Marathon Day, and you won't want to miss out on all the fun and action. She adds, my sincerest apologies for any inconvenience this may cause, and I look forward to being back on the air next Saturday for the Song Bank, and on Thursday, May 29th, for the Cosmopolitan Culture Club. Host of the Classical Cafe this week will be Nick Blazewitz. Nick will have double duty, hosting the Melting Pot from 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Then he will fill in for Samantha as Samantha is on vacation as the host of the Classical Cafe, open on the East Coast from 2:30 to 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 to 2:30 Central Time. And then, of course, Robert Godrich will take over at 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time with the Hourglass for this weekend. So, no Song Bank this upcoming Friday on the 23rd. The Cosmopolitan Culture Club that was supposed to go down today at the time of our recording has been moved to the 29th of 2025 of May. And Nick is in the studio for the Melting Pot and the Classical Cafe this week. All right, a quick Sienna T Radio update before we go any further. Now let's get to what we want to get to, because there's no time to waste. Here we go. A 4-run top of the 3rd inning is how we started game 1 on Tuesday night, Looney Dogs night at the ballpark. At this point in time, the records for the Blue Jays and the Rays were 18 and 22. They improved to 19 and 22. The Blue Jays were 20 and 20. They dropped to 20 and 21. Brandon Lau was a force to be reckoned with in this series, starting things off in the third inning with a single to score Chandler Simpson. And Jano's back, Jano's back, Jano's back. Yep, Danny is back, and he scores on this play as well. It's 2-0 Tampa Bay to open up the game. Later in the inning, later in the top of the third, Jonathan Aranda, his 6th home run of the season on a fly ball into right center. Brandon Lau was on base at this time, and he scores on the play. A 2-run shot for Jonathan Aranda, his 6th home run of the year. 4-0 Tampa Bay right off the bat. Tyler Heineman on base at this point in time. They reviewed this, but Bo Bichette is going to get his 3rd home run of the season. A fly ball to left center field. They did review it, and they gave him this. They gave him the home run sign. So it is a home run, a 2-run shot of Toronto's very own, and the Jays are on the board in the bottom of the third. It's 4-2 Tampa Bay. Bottom of the fourth, Blue Jays get within 1. Dalton Varsho strikes again. His 4th home run of the season. Right field is a line drive. A solo shot off the bat of Dalton Varsho. And it's 4-3 Tampa Bay. Uh-oh. Top of the 6th we go. Moving things right along. Top of the 6th. Here we go. Danny is picked off. No, actually, he was not picked off. With Danny Jansen batting, Taylor Walls was picked off and caught stealing second base. However, a run would score in this during this play. Oh, and speaking of Danny Jansen, flash forward to the top of the 7th. Just his 2nd home run of the season. He makes it 6-3 on a nice fly ball into left field. To the bottom half of the 7th we go. Ernie Clement, his 1st home run of the year. Fly ball left field. 6-4. Tampa Bay. Dalton Varsho strikes again. And guess what? This time, the Blue Jays have the lead. It's 7-6. A 3-run shot for Dalton Varsho's 5th home run of the season. 2nd of the game. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and George Springer score on the play. It's 7-6 Toronto. It would not stay that way. Chandler Simpson singles to score Travis Jankowski to make it 7-7 in the top of the 9th. Danny Jansen to second base on the play. Junior Camarero then basically puts this one out of reach. His 8th home run of the season. It's a grand slam. Christopher Morel, Chandler Simpson, and Brandon Lau score on the play. It's 11-7. But the Blue Jays would not go down without a fight. Bottom of the 9th, and it's Bo Bichette with a nice double. His 13th double of the year. Scores Miles Straw. 11-8 Tampa Bay. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. follows that one up with a double of his own. His 8th of the year. And Bo Bichette scores on the play. 9 runs for the Blue Jays. 11 for the Rays. And that is how it would end. Your top performers, Dalton Varsho and Bo Bichette. Junior Camarero was your player of the game. 1 for 5, a home run, a strikeout, 4 RBIs. 2 runs scored, an RBI, 2 for 3 for Danny Jansen. He was hit by a pitch and also hit a home run in that game. 2 home runs for Varsho, 4 RBIs, 2 runs scored. He went 2 for 5. Bo Bichette went 2 for 4 with a home run, a double, a walk, 3 RBIs, and 2 runs scored. Off we go to games 2 and 3 after a quick commercial break and a word. Speaking of the people we took a quick update from right off the jump, we will talk about game number 2 and game number 3 of this series, where the Blue Jays went to 21-22. I should say 21-21, and then 21-22. And of course, the Rays going to 19-23, and then 20-23, which is where they stand right now at the end of this series. And of course, the Blue Jays stand at 21-22 at the end of this series. How do those games go down? You'll find out next, right after a short word from the people we just took an update from, and those that are making your day brighter, one song at a time. Back with more on Sports for Beginners after this from Sienna T Radio.
Don't go anywhere. There's more great conversations and content right around the corner. Sports for Beginners will be right back in a moment.
Sienna T Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down. Nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on Sienna T Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on Sienna T Radio.
Now, let's take you back to the action. To the rink and field we go. We find Scott McGregor.
This is our Victoria Day Double Trouble on Sports for Beginners. We have a Blue Jays game recap show coming up your way following episode 12 of season 4 of Sports for Beginners, which is this episode right here. Welcome back in, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Scott McGregor, your host of the show. In case you missed it, we broke down in the second segment of our show after taking a quick little update from our friends over at Sienna T Radio with some very interesting programming news that I thought we should get to right before we got into things. With Game 1, the Blue Jays lost Game 1 to the Tampa Bay Rays 11-9 on Looney Dogs Night at the ballpark at Rogers Center. Blue Jays 9-game homestand continues this weekend on Victoria Day long weekend, with the Tigers coming in for 3 games starting tomorrow. We will have that recap for you following this episode, so make sure you stay tuned for that as our Double Trouble rolls on into the Victoria Day weekend. Will the Double Trouble Victoria Day drop around the same time? I don't know. You don't know? Maybe. But it's definitely going to be early for a Sports for Beginners new episode. That's a darn sure. Alrighty, let's see how long it'll take us to get to Game 3. Pitching line from one of the 3 games coming up in a matter of moments. We might even do it from today's game, which was the 3rd and final game of the series. But without further ado, let's jump into it. You know what? We actually really don't need to, because there's only 2 scoring moments. And guess what? They happen in the middle innings. Not too many fireworks after Game 1, but we still had some fireworks. And speaking of fireworks, it all began with a Cameron Mincer single in the 4th inning to score Christopher Morel and give Tampa Bay a 1-0 lead. The first 3 innings were 3-up, 3-down innings. Maybe not 3-up, 3-down, but they were definitely no scores in those innings. No score in the 5th inning, 7th, 8th, and 9th. But the Blue Jays scored their 3 runs on the 3rd home run of the season for Alejandro Kirk, which scores Dalton Varsho and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. A 3-run shot for Alejandro Kirk, and that would not only take the lead, but also put the Blue Jays on the board, and that is how the game would finish. We'll get to a pitching line in this segment if we are able to get there. But now that we're done game 2, which was 3-1 in favor of the Blue Jays, after the Blue Jays lost 11-9 in game 1, now let's get to Tampa Bay's second win, which had a ton of interesting stuff happening. Brandon Lau getting things started. Oh, by the way, before we get started with the scoring of game number 3, it was a beautiful day for a ball game at Rogers Center. The roof was open. A beautiful day for a ball game. Nice sunny conditions and a beautiful day all around for a ball game with the roof open. Alright, anyways, Brandon Lau, a home run, his 6th home run of the season, scores Josh Lowe. Brandon and Josh, the tale of the Lowe brothers, as I will say, get things started in this first inning. 2-0 Tampa Bay right off the jump. Danny Jansen makes it 3-0. He singles to score Jose Calbarero. Taylor Walls, however, was going to score on the play, but a nice throw by Nathan Lucas to Alejandro Kirk, the catcher, nails him at the plate, so only 1 run will score in the top of the second inning for the Rays. The Rays lead 3-0. Bottom of the second, Addison Barger strikes again. His 2nd home run of the season, a fly ball to right center. Blue Jays on the board, 3-1 Tampa Bay. Bottom of the third, speaking of home runs, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. 5th home run of the season for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Blue Jays down by a run, 3-2 Tampa Bay. Top of the 4th, Cameron Mincer. 4th home run of the season. That makes it 4-2 Tampa Bay in the top of the 4th. Top of the 5th, Josh Lowe. 1st home run of the season for 2025. Fly ball center field. And that one was gone. As they would say in the childhood show that I grew up watching, Thomas and Friends, as they would say in the Gone Fishing song, Gone Fishing. I'm not sure exactly if that's what Josh Lowe was doing, but he hit that dead center that was gone the minute it came off of his bat. 5-2 Rays, thanks to that solo home run. Chandler Simpson, not Stevenson, Simpson singles and scores Jose Caballero in the top of the 6th inning at 6-2. Tampa Bay. Bottom 8 we go. 6-3. Uh-oh. Here come the Jays. Well, that was all they would get. This was actually the 3rd home run of the game. Nathan Lucas with the 3rd and final home run of the game for the Blue Jays. Another solo shot in right center field. 6-3 Tampa Bay. And then Brandon Lau, his 2nd home run of the ball game, puts Tampa Bay up 8-3. 7th home run of the season, and once again, Josh and Brandon connect again. They did so in the 1st inning of this game, and they do so again. That was Brandon's 6th home run of the season. They do so again later in the ball game for his 2nd home run of the game, 7th home run of the season. Brandon Lau, that is. I should note that Ernie Clement did spark the offense with newfound bat and a little bit of magic. Well, no matter how you slice it, it's 8-3 the final. And both the Lowe brothers, Brandon Lau and Josh Lau, I don't know if they're related. I think they are. I'm not sure. I'll have to look into it. But they put on a clinic. Josh was 3 for 5, and your top performers, by the way, were the Lowe brothers. Both of them 3 for 5. A home run, an RBI, 3 runs scored for Josh Lowe. And for Brandon Lowe, 3 for 5, 2 home runs, 4 RBIs, 2 runs scored. Your top performer for the Blue Jays was Vladimir Guerrero Jr. 1 for 2, a home run, 2 walks, an RBI, and a runs scored. And your top performers in game number 2 were Alejandro Kirk, 2 for 4, a home run, 3 RBIs, and a run scored. Chris Bassett, 5 2/3, 7 hits given up, an earned run, 6 strikeouts for him. 6 innings by Tampa Bay starting pitcher Ryan Pepoit. I'll go with Ryan P. Ryan, I apologize if I'm pronouncing the last name wrong. Really good game by him. 6 innings, 6 hits given up. Well, okay, 6 hits. That's not good for Tampa Bay. That's not good. He also gave up 3 earned runs, but man, was he ever dealing for strikeouts. 7 strikeouts. 1 more strikeout than Chris Bassett did in his 5 2/3 innings of work. Wow. Okay, time now for our pitching line, but we're going to take a quick timeout and get to the pitching line from today's game at the time of our recording, which is Thursday, May 15th, 2025. We'll get to the players of the series following our pitching line. And following that, it's time to set the stage for the continuation of our Victoria Day long weekend double trouble. We've got you covered on Victoria Day. We are covering the Tigers and the Blue Jays. That's coming up next. You'll find out all the answers to all those questions following players of the series and the pitching line from today's 8-3 loss to the Tampa Bay Rays. And of course, we'll get to players of the series and then set things up for the upcoming matchups. One thing to note, as we record on Thursday night, tomorrow, it may be City Connect Friday night, but there's also a giveaway. I won't spoil what that is. You'll find out that information on the next episode of Blue Jays Game Recap. Speaking of which, that is going to be coming in one break time, not after this break, but after the following break, when we close up the shop. Episode 12 of Sports for Beginners, Season 4, our Blue Jays Friday episode, continues in a moment. And again, this is dropping on Victoria Day, Monday, May 19th, 2025, along with a Blue Jays game recap of the Tigers and the Jays. Stay with us. It rolls on with our Rays and Blue Jays content in just a moment.
Don't go anywhere. There's more great conversations and content right around the corner. Sports for Beginners will be right back in a moment.
Hello? How are you, my friend? Why? What's the matter? Why feeling bored and lonely? Look at me. I am always happy. The only reason? I can tell you, it's because I listen to CNT Radio. All the best shows you can think of. The Melting Pot, the Cosmopolitan Culture Club, and the Song Bank. There are also many more new shows to come. Please make sure to visit her website at http://siennaT.wordpress.com/siennaT-radio. Oh, now I can hear you more cheerful. Sienna Tea Radio, making your day brighter, one song at a time.
Looking for a good hockey podcast that covers your favorite hockey teams and mine? Check out On the Ice and Behind the Benches, where we chat about our favorite hockey teams from puck drop to the last play of the action. To learn more, follow the On the Ice and Behind the Benches Facebook page. Search On the Ice and Behind the Benches.
Now, let's take you back to the action. To the rink and field we go. We find Scott McGregor.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 12 of Sports for Beginners is season 4. I am your host, Scott McGregor. I thank you so much for joining us on the program. Really love it if you could join us for your Victoria Day long weekend for all of my listeners in Canada and those who celebrate Victoria Day. What a day it has been so far on this show. Of course, this show is being recorded on Thursday, May the 15th, 2025. It is time to get down to business. It is time to talk pitching line. We're doing it from game number 3. We're going to start with the Tampa Bay Rays, but in case you missed it, as we are inching away to last call, which will be when we talk about the upcoming series for Tampa Bay and Toronto, leading up to them meeting once again. And of course, we will get into our players of the series coming up in just a couple of minutes. First, we're going to get through our pitching line, starting with Tampa Bay. First off, as we do our pitching line from game number 3, that is our selected game, Zach Littell pitched 7 1/3 innings, giving up 8 hits, 3 earned runs, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts, 3 home runs. Did pitch into the 8th, so he also gave up the Nathan Lukes home run in the 8th inning. An ERA of 4.31. First man out of the pen, I should say, not the box, out of the pen. I was gonna say out of the box, but that's hockey term. Nope, I'll say out of the pen. Was Manuel Rodriguez. Oh, wrong game. There we go. Manuel Rodriguez. 2/3. He went 2/3 and did finish the 8th inning. Did not come out for the 9th inning. Walked 1 batter, but was able to get Zach Littell out of the game, out of the 8th inning. Finishes the game with an ERA of 2.21. The guy to close things out for Tampa Bay was Cole Sulser. Cole Sulser closed things out, going an inning, striking out 1 Blue Jay, finishing off with an ERA of 5.40. Meanwhile, the Blue Jays use a few pitchers, including, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, one of the men that most likely has the start Saturday against the Tigers. Of course, we'll start with our starting pitcher. That was Kevin Gausman. Gausman goes 5 2/3, gave up 10 hits, 6 earned runs, 3 home runs given up, an ERA of 4.59, 6 strikeouts for Gausman. Pretty good outing for him, but the home runs and the hits given up. Mason Fluharte would wrap things up in the 6th inning, only going a third. 2 hits allowed, ERA of 2.12. Nothing more for Mason Fluharte. Next up to pitch for the Blue Jays would be this man. We would see Fisher. Braden Fisher would get the call. He went 2 innings, struck out 4 Tampa Bay Rays, no ERA resulted. Then his third tenure with the Blue Jays, third game with the Blue Jays, I should say, in his first tenure as a Blue Jay. Jose Urania goes an inning, allows 2 hits, 2 runs, a home run, and a walked batter, no strikeouts. Ooh, ERA 8.71. Ooh, oh my, oh my. That's not a good ERA for Jose Urena. Okay, Jose, if I pronounced the name wrong, sincerest apologies. I really am sorry about that. Records for the winning pitcher and losing pitcher. Kevin Gossman came into the game 3-4, 3-3, I should say. Got to quickly correct myself there. His record was 3-3. His record coming out of the game 3-4. Zach Littell was 2-5. His record is now 3-5 coming out of the game. The starters in games 1 and in games 2. Well, except for game 2's starter, Ryan P, as I will say. His record was 2-4. He goes to 2-5. Jimmy Garcia got the save, his third of the season. Brandon Little got the game winner. He got the game win. His record 2-0. Coming in, he was 1-0. The starters did not get the win in game number 1. Jose Berrios and the starter Shane Baz for Tampa Bay. So their records stay where they are. Time for the players of the series. And for me, for Tampa Bay, I'm going with 2. They belong to the low bros, Josh and Brandon. But hey, that's not fair. The Blue Jay, does that mean the Blue Jays don't get 2 men? No, they will get 2. The first, Alejandro Kirk for the 3-run shot in game number 2, which ultimately ended up being the winning run. And the next one will go in game number 3. And that one will go to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I would say Addison Barger, but no, that's going to go to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. So Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Alejandro Kirk from game 2. From game 3, it's Vladimir Guerrero Jr. From game 3, game 2, and game 1 all together, it's the low bros, Brandon and Josh for the Tampa Bay Rays. Those are your players of the series. And ladies and gentlemen, it is time for last call. So don't go anywhere. After this short word from our friends at Broadcast Map, episode 12, season 4 of Sports for Beginners, and our Victoria Day Double Trouble first episode wraps up on the other side after this from Broadcast Map. Who knows? Maybe when we return, we'll give you the Broadcast Map update. You never really know. You just never know what happens when you enter. You just never know what will happen when you enter Sports for Beginners. So that's why you gotta be on your toes. And speaking of being on your toes, I cannot wait for you to find out what happens in Last Call on this episode. Stay right with us.
Don't go anywhere. There's more great conversations and content right around the corner. Sports for Beginners will be right back in a moment.
Take another look with Gerda Felix and Melanie Taddeo Malo. Two powerful women of diverse backgrounds having genuine, unique, and uncomfortable conversations that everyone needs to have. Join Melanie and Gerda for conversations about what is missing from human connections.
Now, let's take you back to the action. To the rink and field we go. We find Scott McGregor.
Time for last call on episode 12 of season 4. Oh, it's over. It's over. Is that right? It's over now? It's over? No, it's not over. Well, it is over for this episode. after this segment. It is over after this segment, but Victoria Day Double Trouble rolls on with the Tigers and the Blue Jays on a Blue Jays game recap program as our Double Trouble rolls on for this Victoria Day long weekend. Happy Victoria Day to all our Canadian listeners who have joined us, staying up late with us to do this recap on the day of the end of the series with the Rays and the Blue Jays. Final scores in case you missed it. Rays lost Wednesday night's matchup 3-1 to the Toronto Blue Jays. They beat the Blue Jays 11-9, I should say, in Tuesday's matchup, and 8-3 today, I should say, earlier this afternoon. Yes, earlier this afternoon, you heard me, earlier this afternoon, as we are recording this show on the night of the game. The work from Dome game, by the way, 8-3, the Rays beat the Blue Jays. All right, with that said, that'll actually kick us into where we were going, which was our upcoming series. From the Blue Jays to Miami, from the Blue Jays to Miami, the Rays will go. And then the Rays will be back at the New York Yankees spring training complex to take on the Astros, Blue Jays, and the Twins. All games, 3-game series, 9-game homestand for the Rays. But first, a little 6-game road trip, ending with a 2-out-of-3 win over the Blue Jays in Toronto. They will take on the Miami Marlins starting at 7:10 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow night. By the time you hear this show, those finals will be done. They will also play at 4:10 p.m. Eastern in Miami on Saturday and 1:40 p.m. on Sunday, May 18th, 2025. Then they'll open up a series with the Houston Astros, starting on Victoria Day and wrapping up on a special day for the Rays. Devils Rays 90s hat is a giveaway that they will do, presented by Orlando Health. All fans in attendance will receive a Devil Rays 90s hat. First pitch, 1:10 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday, May 21st, 2025. All right. For the Blue Jays, their 9-game homestand continues. The Tigers are in town, and that is how our Victoria Day Double Trouble will end. We will end it off with a Blue Jays game recap. Blue Jays and the Tigers. First pitch of Game 1 is set for 7:07 p.m. First 15,000 fans in the ballpark tomorrow will receive a night mode hat, and a lot of great stuff happening on City Connect Fridays. We will see what's in store with the Tigers. Should be a good one. Tigers will be here also on Saturday. First pitch 3:07. It's Blue Jays Barbie game day on Saturday. That ought to be a good one. And then Junior J Sunday will wrap it up with the Tigers. 1:37 p.m. Off day on Victoria Day, the 19th of May. Back at it with the Padres with Looney Dogs Night kicking things off. Calling all football fans, head down to the ballpark on Wednesday, May 21st, 2025, and get yourself a George Springer replica football jersey presented by TD. And then calling all schools. It's a school day on Thursday, May 22nd, 2025. First pitch, 1:07 p.m. to close things down. And that, of course, is also when episode 13 of season 4 of the podcast will be. It's another Blue Jays Friday baseball. Blue Jays baseball Friday. Now the game happens on Thursday, but the show will drop ahead of the Rays series. We'll get you ready for that one. That's, of course, at the spring training complex of the New York Yankees. Then the Blue Jays will head out to Texas to take on the Rangers. First pitch of game number 1, set for 4:05 p.m. Eastern in Texas. Central Time, that will be 3:05 p.m. Eastern. weather permitting. All right, with that all said and done, our next Blue Jays game recap will be the Tiger series, and that will close us out on our Victoria Day Double Trouble. Our 12th episode of Season 4 of Sports for Beginners kicked it off. We'll wrap it up with the Tigers on Blue Jays game recap. Both shows set to drop on May the 19th, the Victoria Day date. If they do not drop on that date, they will drop ahead of the Padres series, which begins on Tuesday night at 7:07 p.m. Eastern. Looney Dogs Night presented by Schneider's. Make sure you come hungry. Alrighty. With that said and done, only 2 Blue Jays starters we know of so far for the Detroit series. I understand it could be Jose Urania for Saturday against Olsen, but we will see Bowden Francis first against Fluharty for the Tigers, against Jack Fluharty for the Tigers. We will see that first, and then we will see Bowden Francis go for the Blue Jays, and we will see on Saturday, we will see Olsen going for the Tigers. Will it be Jose Urania? Sorry, Reese Olsen for the Tigers? Will it be after against Reese Olsen? Will it be Jose Urania who will start for the Blue Jays? We don't know. It could be. Yes, it could be Reese Olsen versus Jose Urania, but we don't know. We do know, however, that it will be Jose Berrios versus Jackson Joby in game number 3. Tigers record as we sit here, 29-15. Blue Jays record as we sit here, 21-22. The record for the Tampa Bay Rays coming out of this series, 20-23. They will take on the Miami Marlins next before they welcome in the Houston Astros, and then the Blue Jays will face the Rays shortly after. So we won't have to wait long for the Blue Jays and the Rays to meet again, but we will have to wait until the homestand for the Blue Jays is over, and of course, the homestand for the Rays begins. That will wrap up with the Twins in town from the 26th to the 28th. They will then hit the road to take on the Astros to close out the month of May. So they will face the Astros following their series with Miami, face the Astros following their series with Toronto in the sports complex, spring training complex, I should say, of the New York Yankees. And they will also face the Astros following the Twins series and following the Marlins series, which is up next on deck for them. Righty. Up next on our Victoria Day Double Trouble, Blue Jays Tigers. I will talk to you probably following Junior J Sunday, most likely audio. We might not do it video like we're doing it now, but both of these shows will drop on Monday, May 19th, 2025, or Tuesday, May 20th, 2025. Whatever the case is, they will definitely, hopefully, drop before the Padres series gets started. Calling all football fans, episode number 14 of season 4. That is when you're going to find out when are we doing Bills postgame. When are we doing before they kick off, and how many times? When are you going to hear Dolphins postgame? You'll find out all the answers on the episode following. The episode that will be a Blue Jays game recap like this one, but be based on the San Diego Padres. For now, enjoy the action that is to come. My name is Scott McGregor. The Blue Jays win game number 2 on Wednesday, 3-1. They lost today, 8-3 on Thursday, May 15th, 2025. They beat the Rays on May 14th, 2025. That was yesterday, Wednesday, 3-1. They lost 11-9 on Tuesday, May 12th, 2025. I should say 13th, 2025, not the 12th. The 13th, I should have said. Where do things stand? Stick around to find out where things stand in the schedules for the football season. And be sure you join us over the course of our Victoria Day programming for Blue Jays versus, yes, I said versus, Tigers. That's next on our Sports for Beginners Double Trouble Victoria Day special. But that is it for this episode of Sports for Beginners, the podcast. That is it for this episode. Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you very much for joining us. Really, really appreciate you joining us. Would love it if you took a second to rate, review, and share the podcast. Have a great rest of your day, depending on when you're tuning into this. Double Trouble, and I will catch you after Tigers and Blue Jays to close out our Victoria Day Double Trouble on Sports for Beginners with Blue Jays game recap. And I can't wait. Don't go anywhere with the Blue Jays Double Trouble Victoria Day special, because there's one more right around the corner. But as for the season episode, again, that is it for the season episode. Thank you very much for being with us. And until next time, Blue Jay fans, lights up, let's go. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for joining us on Sports for Beginners, the podcast, for Blue Jays game recap, the after show on Sports for Beginners, the podcast, right after every Blue Jays game. To learn more about upcoming esports, when they drop, and schedule, please visit https://sportsforbeginners0.wordpress.com. Follow the show on Facebook at facebook.com/sportsforbeginners87. Send us an email at sportsforbeginners87@gmail.com. Follow Ali, Thomas, and Scott on Twitter at Scott McGregor 3, Thomas J, and ALI Musa. Follow Thomas and Scott on Instagram at SMC_87_ and TM_80 and TM00_. Thanks for listening to Blue Jays Baseball, and we hope to see you soon again. This has been Blue Jays Game Recap. Once again, the website is https://sportsforbeginners0.wordpress.com. Thanks for listening. And when it's time for the Blue Jays to play ball, there's only one chant Blue Jays fans will be using. Catch you later, baseball fans.